Here is a special dedication to everyone who has a vision and is going through things that make you think you won't get there. This song is for you. When I look into the world, I see my dreamland, but it's far from me now, and it's getting farther. Many have gone through this lane. They have stories to tell. Some are good and some are bad, but I've made up my mind that my story will be pleasant and pleasing to hear. Though it's wrong, I am tough, and I know I will make it. I will get there some way, someday, somehow. I will get there. Oh, I've made up my mind. Sitting there in the morning, right in front of the mirror, wondering if I'll ever make it, 'cause of things happening around me. And then I heard this little voice say to me, "My child, you're going to make it." And then it dawned on me that I am made for the top. So no matter what it takes, I am ready for this journey. I will get there someday, some way, somehow. Oh, yeah. I will get there someday, some way, somehow. I will get there someday, some way, somehow. Oh, and I know that I will get there someday, some way, somehow. I will get there. Oh, I will get there. I've made up my mind. Absolutely, I will get there. The journey may seem far, the journey may seem crooked, the journey may seem hard. Sometimes it is frustrating. Sometimes it feels like, oh no, what's going on? I can't see the road. Like, what's my next step going to be? Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it is lonely. But just to know, without any doubt, that you will get there, okay? that you will get there. Good evening and welcome to the Narrators on Purpose training session. This is the first or the maiden edition of it, and I am so super delighted. If you know anything about me, you know delighted, amazing are some of my favorite words. So just take me as I am. I'm trying to add to my vocab, so that I have more words to express my excitement, my light, my amazingness. Although I just say amazing, awesome. Those are my go-to words, okay? But welcome, and I'm so happy to have you here tonight. If you're joining us from anywhere, please just drop in the comment section, say hi. Mamuza says hi. Howard says wow. To meet up where Father, this is how we get there. Yes, absolutely, I will get there. Like every time I just remember that song, I'm like, yes, God, yes. Even when there is doubt, I say, Lord, I know I will get there someday, somehow. And the truth is, there is no finite there, but for every season, there is a there, right? So I will get there in my financial goals for this season. And when I get to that there, I'll work towards getting to the next there, right? So it's a continuous journey, right? But the point is just getting your mindset fixed, like, you know what? I'm going to make it no matter how it is, no matter how tough it gets. So thank you for joining. I see you all. Rachel, I see you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest tonight, all the way from the UK. Like, she came prepared for us to teach us how to podcast like a pro. Myself said, I'll be podcaster, but when you're in the game, and when you see people that are doing it better than you are, it is just common sense to kind of sit down and say, yeah, come, let us learn. How is it done, right? She's been doing this for a while. She has a boot camp where she trains people. And I've even been privileged to meet some of her students. And they're doing amazing well. So I know that without that, we're going to get a lot of value tonight. So sit back, relax, get your pen and your paper, especially if you have a message. You feel like there is a message for you to share with the world. You have a journey that you want to share. You have a secret or a wisdom that you have applied that you want to motivate by sharing with others, and you want to do this via podcasting, then this class is for you. Or you've just been playing around your head like, okay, I have a message, but I don't know. I'm not good at writing, but I have a good voice. So people have been telling me, your voice is so sweet. Well, podcasting is one medium that you can use. We don't all have to be on Instagram. We don't all have to be on YouTube. We can also be on podcasting to lend our voice to the matters that, emanate from our heart. And so that's why we're here tonight. So I'm just going to bring up my guest, my beautiful darling sister, one of my firelighters. Hey, sister. One of my Niger Delta sister. I'm going to bring her up now. Hi.
Hello. I am super excited to be here. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. Thank you. And I see all of you in the chat room as well. Thank you so much for coming and attending and trusting that this will be a great session.
Yes, it will be. So I'm going to leave the stage now and have Tonbra take us through this course. We're looking at 20-30 minutes max, and then we'll take your questions. So as the session goes on, if you have any question, please do not hesitate to write them in the comment section. And then when we get to the Q&A session, I'm going to put them on the screen so that Tonbra can take them. Okay? Thank you so much, Tonbra, for being here.
No worries at all.
I'm honored that you said yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Right. Oh, one of my boot campers are here. Thank you to me. I call them my rockets. She's my rocket. Awesome. So this is going to be a stretch. I'm just going to say this just straight out of the bat. I have never done this presentation in less than an hour. So I am going to be racing through. So you guys just stick with me. And when we get to the questions, I will answer them as swiftly as I can. But I will be racing through this presentation. But I trust that you will still get value out of it. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I'm hoping I don't mess things up with StreamYard. Hold on. Let's do this. I'm hoping. Come on. Oh, not this one. Can you guys see? Oh, I'm sharing the wrong one. Okay, stop sharing that screen. Okay. Let us share the right one. Let's try again. Take two, people. Share screen. And I will do this. I think I'm sharing the right one. If you guys can see, I'm just going to pop and just make sure you guys can see. Yes, I think I'm sharing the right one. So this is a bit tricky for me. I won't be able to see your comments at the same time as I'm chatting. So I'll be flipping through to just check. But let's go. Let's go for it. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Swift. Let's go. So we are talking all things podcasting. I'm going to be talking to you about concept. First of all, I'm going to do a lot of work on the why of the podcast. And then I'll talk to you about concept, challenges, themes, and some of the things. My idea is that I want you to get like a quick, what they call a helicopter tour of what podcasting is. That's the truth of what we're going to be able to achieve tonight. Okay. So who am I? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tonbra. I am a resilience coach, where essentially what I do is I help people transform from adversity out to their highest selves. And I host a podcast called the Unscathed Life Podcast. So that's what kind of qualifies me to be here with you. But some people are going to be asking the question. Some people are here or are saying, like, podcasting, like, why podcasting? If you're one of them, because one of people is saying, you know what, not everyone listens to them. You are wrong, because podcasting is growing at an astronomical rate. I'm going to be touching on a couple of things in this presentation to show you kind of the trends that we're starting to see. But if you want to know what a podcast is, what is podcasting? I'm starting from scratch. Basically, it's a vehicle for packaging curated content that is made available on the internet in installments that can be received by people. That's exactly what it is. So it's packaging your refined message. So if you've got a message, then you want to package that. You want to put it, so it's available to a global audience who you then cultivate into a raving fan base. So what's not to love, right? You want to, the currency of the future is community. So podcasting is one of those things that can help you build community and build it really, really quick. And if you remember nothing else of this presentation, I want you to remember this slide. And it is the fact that podcasting really is the medium of the future, that the whole world is going voice now. So a few notable people that have started podcasts, over the last sort of 12 months or slightly beyond. We've seen Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. We've seen Michelle Obama start hers last year, Hillary Clinton, even Obama and Bruce Springsteen. They started podcasts this year. So everyone is moving. And also in December of last year, we saw Amazon buy Wondery, which is a podcasting company, over. So that means podcasts are now available on Audible as well. So we know that Amazon is a very future forward thinking company. So for them to be acquiring a podcast company, that's where things are going. So essentially, you want to get there. You want to be, ahead of the curve. I always include this cheeky little text, slide here, because we all heard what happened to Donald Trump. A lot of times we say, you know what, I don't really need any other way. I've got my social media page and it's all good. But what happened, with Donald Trump? He got booted out of Twitter. He got booted out of Facebook. And if you say, well, that would only happen to him because he is Donald Trump, I'm fine in my own little world. A friend of mine, her name's, the name of her page is Good Living with May. And she was booted. She woke up one day, she had her followers, beautiful page. She had on Instagram. She's like a culinary artist. That's what I call her. Her food just looks so amazing. And she literally woke up one day, not doing anything. She's not doing follow for follow. She's not nothing. She just woke up and her Instagram page was wiped clean. Literally, no followers, no posts, no nothing. So I always ask this question: are you building on borrowed land? Because when you build exclusively on social media, you are literally at the mercy of whoever's platform that is. But what podcasting does for you is give you a platform of your own that you can leverage, that isn't hinged on any other social media presence necessarily. So reasons to start your podcast. In case you're wondering, I'll give you about 8 reasons super quick. First of all, you get to hone your voice. If you were ever thinking about, how do I get credibility as a speaker, or podcasting is perfect for that, because guess what? You are speaking regularly, and the more you speak, the better you will speak. Your first podcast will not sound like your 20th podcast. That's just it's a fact of life, right? The second thing is that you get to develop content to whatever industry you're in, because you're doing this podcast around a finite amount of topics. You are building content, you're aggregating content by default. So it's a really, really, really good way of building content around your message. It helps build your personal brand. Nothing builds the know, like, and trust factor as much as podcasting, because people are hearing you regularly. You're saying stuff on your podcast and they feel like they know you. People listen to my podcast, say, "Oh my God, Tonbra, I can't remember. I can't believe that happened." And I'm like, "How did you find that out?" You start listening to that episode of your podcast, and I laugh because, yeah, you will get to know me intimately if you listen to my podcast. That's just the way it is. And when you do that, you then have buying power. The people, you have buying power over them. Well, is that the right way to say? But basically, you can influence. Digital footprint. This for me is the biggest reason to start a podcast. This is the reason that if you started a podcast today, your future self will say thank you to you. A lot of people, if you Google them, if you try and find them on the internet, there's nothing about them. But what podcasting does for you is that it helps you get found outside social media. It helps you create a library of evergreen content, something that will be there. So you have digital footprint. And guess what? If I had an podcast interview today and I interviewed Ejiro, for instance, I will put it on their interview with Ejiro, and guess what happens? Every time someone would search for Ejiro, they search for me, we both come up, or they search for Ejiro, I come up, my podcast interview comes up. So it's really, really good in terms of just kind of building you and helping you strengthen or increase your reach as a person. Yeah. Oh, and I think I took it out of number 5. It widens your network as well. Number 6, it helps you promote your products and services. Guess what? Once you start to build a personal brand, once you have really, really leveraged that know, like, and trust factor, people want to buy whatever you're selling, essentially, because they feel like they know you more. Media platform. So podcasting, essentially, one of the reasons I love podcasting the most is that it makes you your own media platform. It gives you agency to be able to speak to the world. Whatever you want to say, essentially, it puts the mic in your hand, like literally. And the money-making potentials with podcasting as well. You get sponsorships, you get the fact that you speak as well. You can approach organization and say, "I'm a speaker," and they're like, "You speak what?" People that do stuff around your niche. You can go to them with your podcast and say, "Look, I do this, or this is my podcast. This is kind of subject topics that we talk on. I would love to come on your platform," and you can get speaking opportunities like that, and then merch as well. It helps people who are coaches. It also helps you because once you're creating that brand around your podcast, you can also start to sell merchandise around it as well. A lot of people stop when they hear the sponsorships. It's like, "I want to make money." I teach podcasting mostly from the point of view of it's really about your message getting out there. So if you're thinking, "My God, I want to just get rich and hammer right now, Tonbra, tell me how I can just get rich off this podcasting thing," I will tell you now that this for free now. Podcasting is a long game. It's not for I'll get in today and then it's once you start to build and cultivate that fan base over time, you can now start to, approach companies and say, "Look, I've got a fan base of this amount of people. These are the number of downloads I get quite regularly. It's a great place for you to advertise your products," and then you can start advertising on your podcast. Okay. I always get that question, so I always try and knock it out. Other things I love podcasting for is it gives you content. Remember, I talked about the fact that you're curating a library of content. Your content becomes your social media post, it becomes your blog post, it becomes your book, because you're getting all this content that you can repurpose in other ways. I'm just going to say about this one, I'm not going to dwell on this, but everyone has a unique message. A lot of people say, "I don't have a voice." Everyone has a unique message. And the truth is that if you create value, your listeners will come, and your message, which all my podcast students will hear me say a billion times, or my bootcampers, your message is more important than your voice. I'm just going to whiz through this, but just to say, for some, particularly, I know that the demographics that are listening to this are going to be, Nigerians, possibly predominantly, is podcasts are being listened to in Nigeria as well. This is a top 40 podcasts are being downloaded in Nigeria. And you can see from the list, people are listing. There is an appetite. There's an emerging appetite. I won't say that there is an insatiable appetite at the moment, but there is an emerging appetite. People are starting to do this. So what you want to do is get in ahead of the curve so that you can build. So I'm not going to dwell on this, but this is essentially, I've been trending in different places, in Great Britain, Netherlands, Nigeria, and all the different sectors. And I haven't even updated this lately. It stops at February. I need to add more, but you start to trend very quickly when you podcast. I call these guys the smart ones because these are all the people, some of the people, not all, but some of the people that I've trained and I've started launching their podcast. Abba here is doing so. In fact, all of them are doing so well. But Emma was trending in the first 200, and she only launched in Nigeria. And she only launched her podcast. Emma only launched her podcast in January of this year. So all my podcast students are doing well. They're flying. So
hi, my name is
I'll just let you guys listen to this.
And I'm the creator of the podcast called The Other Side of Education. I want to do a big shout out to Tonbra and the team. I joined the bootcamp in December of 2020, and it was an awesome experience. Tonbra took us through every step. She's very dedicated. She had a plan, kept referring us to bring us back on track, encouraging us on the groups. It was really good, a really great experience. And even from coming up with the name, I think it was one of the most detailed programs I've attended. And she's just such a darling. So
I'm not going to let you guys listen to the full thing. Actually, let me check in the chats. Okay. All right, there you guys can see. Awesome. Thank you so much for your kind words. Sorry, because I'm rushing, but I'm not. I just wanted you guys to hear from her mouth. She goes on here to talk about how she's been trending and she's doing so well. And I have videos like this from almost everyone who has attended my boot camps. But that's not why you're here. That's not why you're here. You want to learn about how to start your own podcast. That's what you want. You want to know. You're like, Tonbra, tell me. So I'm like, that's fine. I've got you. But before I start and before I talk about anything relating to podcasts, I always start with the 4 agreements. And my podcast student, Tammy Talkback, she will tell you I don't touch anything because I believe that if you get the work in your mind right, you can do anything. Basically, if you feel that you can't podcast, then you won't podcast, right? So what I always talk about is the principle of done, not perfect. I will not let perfection get in the way of me launching. So I will decide that, what, I can do it and I will do it. The second agreement I always have with myself and anybody I talk to about podcasting is message over voice. I want you to keep the focus on your message. It's not about all the paraphernalia around you're presenting and how it's the look, the feel, it's not about the sound, it's not about your voice, it's about your message. Your message is powerful, and those who need it, they cannot wait. You'll be doing them an injustice if you wait. Focus over distraction. If you decide that this is what you want to do and you focus on it, you will get it done in as little as 28 days. So where we start when we do podcasting is really, really concept. What would you like to give voice to? What is your unique podcast angle? What topics can you talk about consistently relating to your message? The concept is where you start. The next thing that you do is that you think about your show name, because if you brand your podcast poorly, then the people who need that podcast will not be able to relate to it. Thereby, they won't get blessed from your podcast because they basically don't know it's for them, right? So I always talk about, making sure that you brand it properly, making sure that you have a podcast avatar, make sure you're thinking about who your perfect listener might be, why they listen, and ensure that you're building all of that into your podcast. And I always talk about testing the name. A lot of times people say, oh, Tonbra, I love this name. I've always loved it. But you love it doesn't mean the people who need your podcast will love it. So make sure that you test your name, do a quick survey, and make sure that people who need it can relate to it. Yeah? Awesome. Fantastic. Let me check the comments. Okay, I think that's fine. Are you guys still with me? Let me just make sure. Are you guys still with me? I just want to make sure that I'm still Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Adrian. The next thing is your frequency. I'm a stickler for this one. Completely, you have to be consistent. People need to be able to know, they need to be able to know the day of the week based on when your podcast drops. That literally, I drop my podcast every Thursday, so I've done it today. And I've been doing, I'm on my 33rd episode today, and I've been doing it every Thursday for 33 Thursdays. I have not missed a beat. But you don't have to do it every week. If you want to do it every 2 weeks, that's absolutely fine. But the important thing is that you are consistent. People need to be able to say, you know what, I know that, Tonbra is going to, they need to be able to anticipate that this is going to happen. You need to serve them. That's the only way you're going to grow your following, by being consistent. So there's different segment types. You can do shout out, whatever, you can do interviews, you can do solos, you can do reviews of things, you can do pop culture. There's so many things that you can discuss on your podcast around your message. So it's always important that you think about your segment type as well. The next thing is I want to talk to you about is how you actually set up the podcast. So typically, for a podcast, you will have an intro and an outro, right? The intro announces who the host is. So something like, hello, welcome to this podcast, da, 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 da. The intro will do that. The outro will do the same. Hey, it's your outro. Hi, this is my outro. Podcast is over, blah, blah, blah. So it's important that people, it's important that it's a show. So imagine like a TV show, right? Like a movie or a TV show that you're watching. It would typically have the beginning, like a series actually. It typically have an intro at the start, the main show in the middle, and the ending bit to close it out. So it's exactly the same principle with podcasting as well. Other things that you have to consider is your artwork. It's important that you think about, how it would look alongside other podcasts in the same categories. Also, how it would appeal to the people that the podcast is for as well. The other thing you need to think about is your music. How will it sound? What would it be like? Will people who hear it, is that the mood that you're trying to create? You've got to think about all that. In terms of gear, I'm pleased to let you know that you don't need much. Yeah, it's literally really very low barriers to get in. Minimum is literally a microphone. Any microphone you can use. You could even use an earpiece with this thing. I always advocate for starting where you are and improving as you go along. So I don't want you to say, I would have loved to start a podcast, but I don't have the money to buy a big microphone or an expensive microphone and all these massive gizmos and gadgets. So I'm going to withhold my message from the people that need it, and I will not be a blessing to them. We don't want that scenario. So we say start where you are, and as you go along, you can improve the quality of your sound. But if you wanted to say, you know what, I've got the money and I can invest in a good microphone now, then I would suggest to you that you get a USB microphone. Those are good professional USB microphones with a pop filter. You get headphones as well. Headphones help with the sound, and you have your laptop. And that's it. Bob's your uncle, as they say here. So in terms of your podcast, recording is super easy. You can use any native recorder, any native recording application on your computer, or you can use Zoom as well to record. Yeah. If you've got a guest, it's the same principle. You can use Zoom, you can use Zencaster, you record with your guest, and pretty much that's it. Editing. So this is the part that I tell you I don't know. It's funny because people always ask me, how do you edit your podcast? I for editing, you can actually edit your podcast yourself, and there are different apps for you to do that, or you can outsource. I personally put a very huge premium on my time, so I don't edit my podcast. I work with a podcast editor, and I send them my podcast. I outsource it, they edit it for me, and they send it back to me. And that's what I do. And I started doing that also for my students that I coach. If they need their podcast edited, I sort that out. They let me know, and I sort that out for them as well. The other thing I want to talk to you about is your podcast show notes. So the podcast show notes are super important. So that's where you kind of script what you've talked about on the podcast. And it's really great because it gives you very good SEO value. It helps you get found on the internet as well. And that's it. Literally, I have given you a helicopter tour of how to go from I don't know what a podcast is to submitting your podcast. So this step is where a lot of people get confused as well. So I'm going to demystify it for you really quickly. A couple of things you need to know about submitting your podcast. The first thing you need to know is that you need a podcast host. And a host is essentially where your podcast is stored in the cloud. Right, and you have so many hosts. You've got Buzzsprout, you've got Libsyn, you've got Blueberry, you've got Podomatic. You host that there, and then you now have channels for distributing the podcast. So when you've got a podcast, you don't go to Apple Podcast. So the channels are things like Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I mean, I talked about Audible. Yeah. When you release a podcast every week, you don't go to Audible and submit it in all these places. That would be too tiresome and nobody would do it. So what you would do typically is submit it to your host and the host distributes it for you to those places. And that's it. You celebrate. Now, step 3 is that you celebrate. You thank God and you say, well done to yourself, and you give yourself a pat on the back and you promote your podcast. So that was super quick. So, but I always ask this question because there might be some of you here thinking, Tonbra, this is amazing. And I think I have a message, I have a story, and there's something, it's not even necessarily like I have a story, but I have a message. I believe that every single human being, as long as you have breath and you're watching this, you have a unique story in your heart that God has given to you. So what I do is I've got a podcast bootcamp, because they say if you want to go quickly, you go alone. But if you want to go further, this is the thing I'm going to say. If you want to go quickly, you go by yourself. And then if you want to go further, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. And if you want to go further, you go with people. Oh gosh, I got that wrong. But anyways, the bottom line is I have a bootcamp, and I have one of my esteemed bootcampers in the audience, Temi Tokwe. So feel free, Temi Tokwe, to put your experience of bootcamp in the comments as well, so that people can know. They don't have to take my word for it, but I have a bootcamp. It's a 4-week bootcamp, and basically I get people, and it's almost like an accelerator, like let us do it. And it covers so much. We do everything together, step-by-step guide. I give you workbooks, I give you scripts for everything. I support you in picking your music, getting you the requirements, going into detail. What I give here is just sort of like a super high helicopter level, but I hold your hands through everything, help you edit your first episode, do all of that for you, teach you about everything you need to know. And we do that in exactly 4 weeks. The next one I've got starting is on the 1st of June, and it will go on 1st of June to the 5th of June, and we have classes every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and then Fridays at 2 p.m. and that's West African time, BST. And yes, so and the classes are online, and I've got a very, very huge conversion rate. Like pretty much everyone who comes to the bootcamp launches a podcast. So if you really are serious and you want to launch a podcast, then yeah, let's do this. You can sign up for the waitlist. I've opened the waitlist for the June program, and it's in I should put my link in there. So if you can see my link here, if someone can put my details in the chat box, tonbra.wonswago. If you go onto my Instagram handle, the link in my bio has a wait list. Just put your name and your email there, and I'll come back to you with relevant details for the next bootcamp. Yeah. And these are testimonials. I have my students think I'm wonderful, but I actually think they are the ones that are wonderful. So they come back to me with super good feedback. They all launch their podcasts, and we're all happy essentially. Yeah. So this is my this thing, tonbra.wonswago. Oh, and then also I've got this workbook. I call it the podcast plug workbook. There's some people that say, you know what, I think I'm good. So there's some people that have said, you know what, Tonbra, I don't think I want to be in a bootcamp. I want to just do my own thing. and still learn from you. So I've put together this awesome workbook that has helped people actually launch their podcast without joining my bootcamp, which is really interesting. So the podcast plug as well is available, and I will link it. I don't think I put it in my bio yet, but I'll put that in as well. But if you want to, just buzz me in my DM and I can get that across to you. And then I was going to say something. And yes, there's also the self-paced version. So if you want to do the bootcamp, if you want to do the course, but you don't have the time to actually join the bootcamp due to timing, then I have the video course as well that I can sell to you. Let's see. Fantastic. Any questions? Survey. So someone's asking, how do you test the podcast name? So what I recommend is that people do surveys. So just do like a Survey Monkey or a Google Form survey, put a couple of names and then get people to tell you which one they like. And that gives you an idea of which one to go for. Yeah? We can't hear you, Ejiro. Or is it me that you guys can't hear?
My mic was muted. Sorry. Thank you. This has been amazing. Guys, if you're still on, can you please tell me how amazing? What have you gotten from this session? Okay. While you also type in your question. So Tonbra already answered the question of how do you test the podcast name? Create a survey and ask people for their opinions for the one that they choose the most, and then you can go with that because they are the one who would listen. They are the one who will search for the podcast, not you. All right. Rachel is asking here.
Can I start a video podcast? Yes, definitely. I mean, Zoom. You can use Zoom. Zoom is you just record with your with the people. Yeah, and then just
even StreamYard. Even StreamYard. You can use StreamYard to record
what we're doing here as well. You can do that.
Yeah, and you can use Zencaster to like. There are too many tools out there that you can use and just record. Or if you have the traditional camera, you can just record yourself and edit, put it up. So, but I feel like the reason it would be a podcast is because it has a podcast version, an audio version on a podcast hosting site.
Yes.
Because that's the only reason. Because if it's just video, then it's YouTube. Just take it to YouTube and know that you have a video content. So what makes it a video podcast is because it has its version hosted on a podcast platform. So people can search for it on the podcast platform, but people who like visuals can also search for it on YouTube. So using the same name, right?
And there's so many people who have video podcasts. I do a video podcast, and the benefits of doing a video podcast is really, really good because it gives you more reach, essentially, because there's some people who will just stumble on it on another platform like YouTube. So it does give you more reach. So and what I do actually is interesting because I record the videos, but I actually don't I don't use the videos yet because I need I'm just waiting for all of them to pile up, and then I'm going to get like a video editor to chop them up really nicely, and then I can start loading them up onto YouTube. So
so for now you don't have your podcast, you don't have the video released, only the audio for now. So you just got the content for
gathering the content.
Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Sam Harvard here is saying, now it's time to start working on my podcast. Oh, thank you, Sam. Yes.
Everyone should have a podcast. I don't believe everybody should have a podcast, literally, in the way the world is going.
So, podcast. I get that. But then, how do you then sort out the it's still growing in Africa, but it's like already saturated in some part of the world. According to a statistic, I follow somebody who, gives statistics on podcasts, and he was, projecting that the next big market is Asia, basically India, China, Singapore, right? So how do you stand out? Because if everybody is now, going to podcasts, how are you going to stand out of the crowd? How will you build your own? Because if everybody's building at the same time.
It's still the same principle of USP. So you as a person, why do you stand out, Ejiro? You stand out because of your skills, the things that you do, your competence. You stand out because of your experience, which is your story. You stand out because of your passion, which is what you love to do. So it's still the same. No matter, I can never be. You should never feel, like it's overwhelmed or inundated, or there are so many people. It's just like pure water. They're like a billion, but there's still people that would prefer their brand. They will still prefer that same one. So the world is huge, but there's still people that like the exact flavor that you offer. So that's exactly, there's still people that no matter how many billions of podcasts out there's still people that I would cultivate into my raving fans because of my competence, my story, my passion. They will come from me.
I love it. Like it's just kind of giving yourself that feel, or that feeding your mind, like, see, the air is wide enough for all of us to fly. So
there's nobody else that will be like me. There's nobody else. No matter how many billions of podcasters out there's nobody else that would be like me. So if you apply the right techniques, you apply your consistency, you push it out there, you will find people who will listen to it.
Absolutely. So Sam here is saying, please come and host me on your podcast. I'm a very good guest.
That's something I should do. Actually, I should actually open up a guest guest
like
if one of the people who I train, she does it. She's actually she will go and just say, who wants to be on my podcast? You have a story. So there's so many ways to do this thing. We literally are just starting at the scratch. There's so many ways.
Yeah. And I really plug this in that I feel like, yes, China might be the market, but Africa is still like a fertile ground because it's not yet huge. Yes, people from Africa listen, but like it's not a thing yet, like a market yet in Africa. So if we go in early,
it's brilliant. The fact that it's not huge, gigantic in Africa is brilliant for two reasons. One, it's fertile ground, right? You can go out this. And then two, for people who want to hear from Africa, so people who are not necessarily listeners from Africa, but have been conditioned to listen to podcasts, who are not in Africa, guess what? They will start looking for those African podcasters. And guess who? They were not that many.
Exactly. So true. Wow. Thank you so much, Tonbra. Like, I agree with Rachel, who says, great session. You're simply loaded. Thank you for such a valuable session. I totally agree with that. Thank you so much for availing your time to be here tonight. I do not take it for granted at all. So any more questions, guys? If not, thank you for being a part of this. So this is, like Tonbra was saying, this is part of my passion, right? I want to tell stories. I want to help people share their inspiring stories, as much as I also want to help people, get into what they've always wanted to get into. And that is why Narrators on Purpose was created. So it's a community where we get to support each other. You just know that you have a good voice, or you have a voice. It doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to think that it's good, because you are not hearing your voice the way other people are hearing it, really. So who are you to say my voice is bad, my voice is not bad, right? But if you have voice, and especially like Tonbra said, if you have a message that you want to share, then it's just okay to get into a community where we will celebrate you, number one, we will support you, number two, we would also share resources with you that will help you hone your voice, to be comfortable with your voice. Like, so whether you want to be a narrator of audiobooks, because that's another huge industry that is brewing in Africa. I mean, I've been sitting on this gold mine for over 5 years, and it's so painful. Like, I've not mined it yet, but there is never a late time, really. Yes, the best time to do this was 5 years ago, but the next best time is now. And I am just really, really hoping that, for people who are in that space, who really want to get comfortable with their voice, to use their voice in supporting or sharing messages that would give hope, that would inspire people, I want to be your guide as well. So, and that's why Narrators of Purpose is here. So if you're interested, if you're watching this on my Facebook profile or on my YouTube channel, and you want to be a part of that group, please just search for Narrators on Purpose on Facebook and be a part of the group, and let's grow a community together. We have fantastic sessions going on there. Thank you, Mamuzo. This is one of our hosts on one of our programs on the show. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. My name is Ejiro Osakene. Across all social media platforms, if you want to follow me and my work, please do that. And Tonbra is, I'm going to put Tonbra's
yeah, it's on the screen now that I'm sharing. Oh yes,
Tonbra also go on Instagram. So go search her out, please. You'll be doing me a favor, and you'll be doing, just a way of saying thank you for the value that Tonbra has added today. Please go follow her and just leave a comment on her post, right? Leave a comment like, I enjoyed your session at NOP tonight, or, please thank you for sharing. Leave a comment, and, that's how you connect in this life. That's how you connect. And during the NOP, I will be sharing all those secrets with you. That is how you connect with people, because after such a class, go connect immediately. Otherwise, you will forget, and Tonbra will forget. Like when you start saying, you spoke last month or 2 months ago at NOP. I'm not like, NOP. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. But if you do it now, it's easy for you to say, wow, that was amazing. And then you can even get the freebie that she offered, right? She already provided all. That's brilliant. Like, let me even call before we just call it short. That's brilliant. Like, you created a template that will help people go from A to Z. Something they will get if they join your bootcamp, and you're giving it out free.
Wait, I'm not giving that for free.
Because when you said reach out to me, I'm like, wait, what? I wanted to feel like, what?
But it's super cheap. But if you reach out to me, I'll let you know. But the other thing I wanted to say, please follow my listen to my podcast, The Unscathed Life. I always forget to advertise my podcast.
Do you have a separate channel for that, or it's just?
It's on the link in my bio. So you go to listen to the Unscathed Life password. So you click on it, subscribe, and whatnot to the podcast.
Okay. I will ask one last question before I release you. Okay. When picking the platform for the podcast, do you have any preferences?
I use Buzzsprout. I like Buzzsprout. So that's the one that I like.
I know.
A lot of people do use what they use, but I can only speak to the one that I use and I have.
I'm on Anchor, and I've been thinking, should I move? But what do you see? Have you seen anybody move platforms like that? And what do you see? Is that a smart move, or is just?
I personally, so Anchor has a lot of controversy around it. So that's why I don't use Anchor. They say that the contents there, because it's a free platform, the content there actually belongs to Anchor, not you. So, but it's a gray area. So I just do not include myself into Anchor. So that's why I use Buzzsprout. But in terms of migration over, I think I don't really know how. The only way I would think that you would migrate is that you get the audio and upload them one by one on the other side. But it's interesting because somebody has like 100 episodes. Are you going to do 100 one by one? So I actually don't know about cross-coordination between platforms. Apart from the manual way of just uploading.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to look into that because I've been seeing Buzzsprout a lot, and I love the way that they look. But when I started, Anchor was the thing. The time, and I just love the simplicity of it. So I didn't really, check out other platforms. But later on, I just saw that Buzzsprout started, like everybody was just going on Buzzsprout and all of those things. So I'll check it out and then make up my mind. Thank you so much for being here today. God bless you.
Take care.
Right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much, and see you next time.